Met me yet. My pronouns are they, them. I'm the executive director here at Pennsylvania Interfaith Power and Light. We are a statewide nonprofit that's dedicated to responding to climate change as a moral and religious issue. We do everything from education sessions like these to planting trees alongside many of you. I see many familiar faces on the call tonight. So thank you for being here. I am interested, especially for those of you who have your camera on, if this is your first session joining us, or if you're one of our friends who's been with us for this whole series, because we're now in number 4. We're in our final show. So if you want to show your hand and say that you've been around for more than one, thanks for being here and being on for the journey. Hi, it's good to see you again. Thanks for being here. All right, so tonight we have a couple of different speakers who are going to speak to you. I'm going to let them kind of popcorn from one to the next. We also, unfortunately, had one of our speakers who's unwell this evening. So if you're really excited to hear from Abdel Nassini, we will be hearing from him at a later date, but he will not be able to join us tonight, unfortunately. So we're going to hear from our other speakers, and then we'll be hearing from Abdel at a later time, and we'll keep you all in the loop. Lots of good stories to share. We're never going to run out of them, so that's exciting. All right, thanks for being here. Basic tech things as we go through tonight's presentation. We do have time for Q&A at the end. So if you can save your questions for not during presentation, but if you can pop them in the chat while we move through, that would be great. We will also have breakout rooms tonight. So if you have lots of conversation that you want to have or stories that you want to share of your own, we're going to save all of that for the breakout rooms and use the time with our speakers tonight to kind of tap into their expertise. All right, well, without further ado, I am going to invite Monte Garber, who is with Stroud Water Center, to share a little bit about watershed stewardship and all of the many ways that congregations can get involved in that great work. Thanks, Monte.
Thank you, Kay, and greetings, everyone, from surprisingly ice-cold Lancaster, Pennsylvania. I am a resident of Lancaster City. I work for Stroud Water Research Center in Chester County, and I've worked on watershed stewardship issues, particularly agricultural issues, for the last 35 years. And I'm happy to share some of my insights as a professional, but also as a member of a local church congregation. So thank you for the invitation to be here. And I will start some slides and we'll jump right in. So for my part this evening, I'm going to talk about watershed stewardship in a changing climate with some thoughts on what we can be doing in Pennsylvania for our streams and rivers and downstream communities in the context of being involved in various communities, including faith communities. And I wanted to start this evening by just an introduction to the Stroud Water Research Center. It is a unique entity. It is a resource for Pennsylvanians tucked in the very southeastern corner of Pennsylvania. If you were not aware that you have a world-class freshwater ecology research center in your backyard, well, I'm here to tell you a bit about us. So Stroud Water Research Center is a 55-year-old organization. You can see our mission down at the bottom. For that period of time, we have been working on a variety of fronts to advance the knowledge and stewardship of fresh water through research, education, and restoration. And I'm the Watershed Restoration Coordinator, so I'm part of that restoration team at Stroud, but work very closely with our scientists and our educators. We really have a very interdisciplinary approach to improving and protecting our watersheds and rivers in the Commonwealth and throughout the country. So Avondale, if you're not familiar, it is mushroom country. It is ground zero for mushroom production in Pennsylvania, which is the leading producer of mushrooms in the United States. Avondale was selected by our founder way back in 1967. Her name was Ruth Patrick, a groundbreaking scientist who worked at the Academy of Natural Sciences. And she worked with the Stroud family to develop a research station within driving distance of Philadelphia so she could study, she and her colleagues could study a relatively healthy stream within driving distance of their labs in Philadelphia. So our base is in Avondale. We have a lot of projects going on in the temperate parts of North America, but we also have tropical research happening in places like Belize, Costa Rica, and Panama. Our mission, first and foremost, is to produce non-biased, trusted science that all of us need to help inform how we work on stream and river protection. And that really means working on watershed protection and restoration, because our streams and rivers, the health of our flowing waters really reflect the health of the land. And that means all of us. Um, so we want to help inform your efforts by really rigorous scientific trials and research studies to understand how healthy streams function and how what we need to do with unhealthy streams and rivers to bring them back to health. But we also recognize that information, science, facts is not enough if we don't have that personal connection with our waterways. And so that's really the mission of our education program, is to work with students, but really anyone K to gray, to help them understand their water in their local communities, but more importantly, get out on and in their waterways to understand what's in them, what's making them healthy or unhealthy, and to learn about how they can work with their waterways while enjoying them, like you see these paddlers here. As the first slide showed, we really have three pillars of our work at Stroud. First and foremost is that research program, and we have a, a range of different PhDs working on different research questions. This is Jinjun Khan, our microbiologist at Stroud, but we have many other scientists that collaborate to try to answer complicated questions around fresh water. We have our education program, and like I said, I work for the Watershed Restoration Program. And what that's about is really working with communities and landowners to get the land in better conditions so that it's friendlier to the streams and rivers flowing through those lands, through those watersheds. While science is at our core, we also recognize that we as human beings are motivated to live and work in this world through a variety of ways, including our faith traditions. And I'm really excited to have a lot of different, really collaborative projects going on with congregations in my home area of Lancaster County. And, I think many of us recognize that human beings are just one part of this world that deserves a healthy, happy life. And we want to see all organisms, aquatic, floral, faunal, have healthy water to thrive in. And churches of all kinds are just a very important connector for people to learn about these connections and to start taking action if they aren't already. So I want to tell you a bit about what I do professionally. Because we're a small organization, our watershed restoration department at Stroud, we have 8 people. And all of our work is funded by grants. We have to write every single proposal if we want to get projects done on the land. And so with our limited staff and our limited resources, and with so many people to work with across Pennsylvania and North America, we kind of focus our work with farmers. not just farmers, but primarily farmers. And the reason for that is we can move fast. We can get a lot done relatively quickly um, by assisting farmers with information and resources to make changes on their big properties that can really have profound and relatively quick beneficial effects on the streams flowing through these farms. Our strategy when we work with landowners, rural landowners and farmers, is to help them with soil and water conservation across their whole property. And that includes improving the health of the soils in their pastures and in their crop fields. But we, like you all, plant a lot of trees. Trees are core to our work. Specifically, we plant a lot of trees in the stream corridor. And I'll tell you a bit more about that work in a moment. But basically, streams and rivers love trees. And we've cut down a lot of trees in our part of the world. And so what we're trying to do with these, what we call forested buffers or streamside forested buffers, is to plant enough trees in that streamside area to bring some of those forest benefits back to the stream. So that means we work with a lot of people like you see on this screen, practitioners, farmers, church people, local government officials, to really get a lot of high quality projects on the ground um, in a really efficient manner. Much of my work is in Lancaster County, but we have many of these projects in Chester County and in Berks County. Southeastern Pennsylvania is a focus area for us. We do work in the Delaware Bay and in the Chesapeake Bay watersheds. We have a small project out in Western Pennsylvania, but we'd love to work with you more out there for those of you who are on the call from Western PA. But just taking the southeastern sliver of Pennsylvania, and you can see where I am there in Lancaster, and I have the Stroud, the rough approximate location of the Stroud Center there also with the second blue arrow. What you see on this map are streams in southeastern PA that our Department of Environmental Protection, through their assessments, have identified as impaired. And what that means is that these streams and rivers are in bad enough condition that they're put on what's called the impaired waters list. And it's a it's a lot. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of our streams. In fact, Lancaster County has more impaired stream miles than any other county in the state of Pennsylvania. But all of southeastern Pennsylvania with our agriculture and our intensive development, our streams are suffering. And made worse by the fact that as the global temperatures and our local temperatures slowly but steadily increase, that also puts added stress on our streams that are already struggling with various forms of pollution. A lot of the critters that we want to bring back to our streams, they like cold water. But as temperatures climb, our stream temperatures are also climbing. That's why getting these trees planted along our streams is so important, because we want to bring shade back to our stream to try and knock those temperatures down. But anyway, this is helpful context for you all in your own communities and congregations. You likely have an impaired stream in your neck of the woods, and it's a great way to talk to people about really bringing streams back, getting them off this red list and turning them back to blue. So I want to tell you a bit about what we're doing in my congregation. Since 1992, I've attended the Community Mennonite Church of Lancaster in the city of Lancaster, Pennsylvania. It's a small church, and we maybe have 150, 100 people per Sunday. And you can see our church in the background. But I wanted to start by showing you one of our bigger projects. We're going to talk about big and small things we can do tonight, right? This was probably the biggest thing we did, which was to take an old traditional impervious parking lot, and basically through securing grants and working with the city of Lancaster, we've turned this into a green infrastructure parking lot. This is what it looks like today. Oops. I'm missing a slide there, sorry. But what it looks like today is trees growing in the middle of this parking lot. We have pervious pavement that's replaced this impervious pavement. We have native plants everywhere. And while we still have retained most of our parking spaces, this area is now really like a park for our immediate residents around us. So that's that's an example of something big that a congregation can take on. But where we've started at Community Mennonite is really to try to become better informed about what are the issues, what are the issues affecting creation in our immediate area of the city of Lancaster and the wider Mid-Atlantic. So we have a lot of guest speakers. We have special events around issues of creation care. And this spring, our pastor oversaw a special series on watershed stewardship that we spent 4 weeks on. So we're really trying to learn as we go, but also recognizing that there's things that we need to be tackling right now. So I want to share a few more ideas here. There we go. There's what our one corner of our parking lot looks like now that we've finished this big stormwater project. We work a lot with plants, as many of you do, and we have many parts of our landscape that were deforested hundreds of years ago. We've lost a lot of native plant communities, and those plants are so important for water recharge, for filtering the water, for providing habitat. And so we as individuals within our church on our own home properties, but also collectively on places here like Overlook Park, a public park in Manham Township, we're actively trying to remove invasive plants and replace them with native plants. So this property here is an 8-acre property, right in smack in the middle of Lancaster County. It's heavily visited by lots of people recreating in the park. What you see behind you there is an 8-acre planting of trees in those plastic tree shelters. And what these folks have done here is planted that bed with a native pollinator garden just to give a little extra visual interest and to show people, passersby, what native plants they can be using in their own backyards. The big ticket item here is that 8-acre buffer with a stream flowing through the middle. But look at what flowers like this can do to try to invite people into this restoration space. There's a massive wetland back there. There's a stream running through there, and in 10 years, we're gonna have nice sized trees and native shrubs growing in this area. What we're doing now with my congregation, with my leadership, is that we're working in this existing park restoration plant and taking out a particular acre and working with our youth to build, we're not calling it a riparian forest buffer. What 8-year-old wants to hear that? We're actually working with them to plant a secret forest or a native forest that's going to be theirs to watch grow and to play in and to learn about forest ecology. And so our youth are planting in there, but our adults are also meeting out at this site now once a month to talk about issues, but also get our hands dirty and keep working on this acre of restored forest for our youth. I want to skip ahead a little bit. I have a little extra time, so I wanted to show you a few other examples. We're a city church, and a lot of what we do is really grounded in the city of Lancaster. And there's other city congregations that are doing a lot. Neighbors of ours, like helping um, neighbors get trees uh, into their sidewalk areas. But I wanted also to give you a rural example because there's plenty of congregations out there in our rural areas, and here's an example of another Mennonite church. You're going to be hearing a lot about Mennonite churches tonight. Um, Ridgeview Mennonite is smack dab in Amish farmland, and my wife, Marcy, uh, worked with this church to basically transform part of their property that looked like this, mostly grass, mostly turf. And as many of you know, and what more people are learning about, is that turf grass really doesn't have a lot of benefits for our wider environment. It's great for certain applications, but wherever we can, let's reduce the amount of turf grass and turn it into native plants that have more benefits for water, for climate, for wildlife. And so Marcy worked with a lead point person from Ridgeview Mennonite, and they took a turf grass hillside like this, and they covered it in cardboard for a fall and through the winter to basically smother that turf grass non-chemically. And that's Heidi is who you see there sitting there. She was the lead person from Ridgeview, really moving this project forward with Marcy's help. And topped it with mulch to hold down that cardboard. There's Marcy there. And then they waited, and after 6 months in the springtime, they began adding plants. And uh, we were with local nurseries. We sought out, Marcy and Heidi sought out native plant nurseries, of which we have several in this area, and developed a design. And here's what it looks like. Here's a portion of that today. It took some education with this congregation. Some folks are maybe still in that old school view of how grass is great and the more grass the better. But with slow but steady education about native plants, people really came around to this, and it is a really, really beautiful feature of their property. So it's another example. I've given you mostly plant examples of some projects the congregations can work on, but there's so many other things that are appropriate. Obviously, using more recyclable materials in your hospitality program. I know of a church that basically voluntarily taxes themselves. It's sort of a self-imposed gas tax that they pay into a fund for their church to do energy conservation and renewable energy development around their church building. So many different things to be done. So I wanted to just end with a little bit of my own personal story about why I'm doing this. As I said, I've been attending my church since 1992. I've been on hospitality committee, on pastoral team. I'm now running sound on Sunday mornings. But I recognize that so many people in our congregation, they're concerned about the environment. Some of them are struggling with real discouragement about the way things are going. And I know how much it means to me for my own motivation, for my own sense of encouragement and optimism to be involved in restoration and environmental projects that are really doing some important things. It just helps me deal with some of the more challenging and discouraging uh, aspects of the environmental challenge. And I know that that's important for other members of my congregation. And here I am working for a freshwater ecology center. I have access to funding, I have access to plants, I have a lot of know-how about how to do these projects. And so I came back to one of our committees and said, if you guys want to use me as your enabler for some of this work, I'm happy to do it. And I think it just it's just my version of the fact that all of us on this call, we have our own time, we have our own talents, we have our our skills that we can bring to our communities to do our part. And and you know, securing thousands of trees and getting them in the ground and keeping them happy is just one thing I've been able to offer to our congregation here. So that's a few ideas. I want to just leave you with an invitation to check out Stroud Water Research Center. We have lots of public events, we have lectures, we have trainings. It is obviously a long drive for those of you from Western PA, But for those of you who are closer, please think about visiting us. We have a beautiful creek flowing right past our lab called the White Clay Creek. It's at the headwaters of the White Clay Creek, and we can show you a very, very healthy stream that is healthy because of just simple but consistent caretaking that we and our surrounding neighbors are providing this watershed. And it'll give you, I think, a lot of optimism about what we can achieve with sound watershed protection strategies. So with that, I'm gonna close up, and I will turn it over to Donna. Thanks.
Thank you, Monty. I'm Donna McShank, and I live in Lidditz, Pennsylvania, Lancaster County, and attend the Akron Mennonite Church, which is in the northeastern part of Lancaster County. And I'm honored this evening to share with you the journey of a watershed project that Akron Mennonite Church undertook. And I don't have photos, but if you would like to see some photos, you are welcome to go to the Akron Mennonite Church website, where we have lots of photos under the Nature Preserve. So I will share what inspired us, how it evolved, and the impact that it has had on our community. In 2011, 100 Akron Mennonite Church members attended an end-of-life class led by several professionals in our congregation. It was there that we learned more about natural alternatives for burial, an approach that resonated deeply with me and others. Inspired by our learning, several of us explored how to integrate green burials into our cemetery options. We wanted to stop using embalming chemicals and other non-natural materials that negatively impact our soils and our waterways. This led us to dream bigger. With Akron Mennonites' commitment to being faithful stewards of creation, we were inspired to transform our 4-acre hayfield adjacent to our cemetery into something more. And so a nature preserve combined with green burial options, a place where life and death could be experienced holistically, symbolized by the chrysalis and the butterfly, a reflection of God's magnificent creation, and to manage water erosion that flowed into a neighbor's field and eventually into the tributaries that fed the Conestoga River. We envisioned this as not just a place for burial, but as a welcoming sanctuary for our community and wildlife. A place where dog walkers, quiet meditators, and the children of the Diamond Street Early Childhood Center at Akron Mennonite Church could engage with nature. A space contributing to clean water, air, and biodiversity in harmony with God's call for creation care. Over a decade, our vision evolved. A landscape architect worked with us to create a plan, incorporating input from the congregation, neighboring communities, and sister congregations. Securing the necessary approvals and fundraising took several years, but we persevered. In mid-2022, we reached a pivotal moment. Our congregation gathered for an outdoor worship service and under the existing grove of trees, we dedicated and blessed the project. Representatives from the Akron Borough and other stakeholders joined us, marking this important milestone. Shortly afterward, 2 months of excavations reshaped the land, forming a bioretention basin to manage the stormwater naturally. Then came one of the most inspiring and energizing days of the project. In October 2020, 150 people, congregants, neighbors, students, and representatives of sister congregations came together to plant 450 trees, provided by the Alliance of the Chesapeake Bay and guided by Alliance staff. Families and individuals worked side by side, transforming this land into what will become a thriving woodland of more than 30 native species. This space now includes a meadow of native grasses and flowers, ADA compliant sidewalks and mulched paths for all to enjoy, spaces inviting winter walkers and nature lovers throughout the year. This project has been deeply energizing for our congregation, and over time we realized it wasn't just about the nature preserve. It was part of something much larger, a shared commitment to being faithful stewards of the earth. This deeper commitment has manifested in installing solar panels on the church's roof, 25 volunteers clearing invasive plants on campus and planting native plants, adopting creation care as one of our congregation's 4 core values. To lead these efforts, we formed a green team, ensuring that our dedication to God's creation remains a central part of who we are. Our work continues to ripple outward. A story walk has been installed and is managed by our library team, combining education and recreation. QR codes at benches provide contemplative resources for visitors. We are working with Diamond Street Early Childhood Center to develop an outdoor classroom and creation care curriculum. Akron Elementary second grade visits annually. A few months ago, Akron Mennonite Green Team hosted the first networking meeting of green teams from 8 congregations, fostering collaboration and encouragement. Green burials are becoming the preferred choice for recent burials in our adjacent cemetery. And water no longer runs off our property, but feeds the increasing biodiversity of our preserve. What began as a conversation about end-of-life options has become a vibrant, life-giving initiative. This project honors the cycle of life and death, offers educational opportunities for generations to come, and stands as a testament to our congregation's commitment to faithful stewardship of God's creation. Thank you. And now I turn it to Ryan Gott.
Thank you so much, Donna. Like Donna said, my name is Dr. Ryan Gott. I am the Director of Ecology and Environment for the Sisters of St. Joseph, located in Dayton in Beaver County. So we're way over on the western side of the state, practically in Ohio. The Sisters of St. Joseph, if you're not familiar, is an order of Catholic women religious founded in 1650 in Le Puy, France. Congregations of Sisters of St. Joseph now exist across the United States and around the globe. Now, the Sisters of St. Joseph were founded in Baden, Pennsylvania in 1901, although the land's original stewards and peoples include the Seneca, Onondaga, Cayuga, and Mohawk peoples. The sisters remain present at their home in Baden today, committed to their mission of serving God and the dear neighbor without distinction. The Sisters of St. Joseph have 3 ministry focus areas: justice and peace, spirituality, and ecology. So obviously I'm here today representing the ecology side of things, but before I briefly go over some of our environmental actions that we take on our campus, I want to first acknowledge that these 3 ministry areas are intimately linked to one another, just as everything in the universe is. So even though I'm just talking environmentally here today, we know that ecology is both contains and is part of spirituality and justice. There's no pulling these things apart. Now to the watershed meat of the story for tonight. We engage in a variety of different activities to reciprocally benefit from and to benefit our 80 acres of creation adjacent to the Ohio River. A major focus of our work is in restoration. We plant native plants whenever we can to reduce soil erosion, keep headwaters and low-order streams on our campus shaded, to create habitat, to restore our native biodiversity, and to slow and clean rainwater runoff. Most recently, just this past fall, we planted almost 100 native trees and shrubs that we obtained through the Chesapeake Bay Foundation's 10 Million Trees program, facilitated by PA IPL, which is really how we heard about the program. So we're very thankful for that. We planted things like red chokeberry, red twig dogwood, and other spreading, thicket-forming plants in areas of high erosion risk, so that we could stabilize stream banks and protect the water from that erosion activity and the co-occurring high turbidity or cloudiness in the water that can really impact the things trying to live in there. Buttonbush, willows, alders, and other really like wet feet, water-loving plants we planted in turf areas that experience a lot of surface runoff because it is just that turf grass. This is intended to slow that surface water flow, decrease the runoff volume thanks to the plants and their transpiration activity, pulling that up out of the ground, and to begin our process of rewilding some of these turf areas to bring back and give back to creation in those spots. And we've already placed our next order for trees through the Chesapeake Bay Foundation, so we're really excited to keep doing this work in the spring. But as we are planting these Southwest Pennsylvania native plants, we're also working on the removal of invasive plant species. So in addition to a lot of the other, I think, much more well-known and intuitive negative effects that invasive species can have, invasive plants have their own kind of set of effects that they may have. Invasive plants can alter normal rainwater runoff volumes and timings, leading to really big changes in the ecosystem's phenology or the timing of its natural cycles. So when you would normally expect, let's say, water to be coming through from those first spring rains, it may not get to the places it needs to for certain plants to bloom at the right time when their specific pollinator is active. And so you may be throwing off those cycles and that balance that are present in creation. Removing invasive plants also helps us to just restore habitat for native animals by nurturing the return of the natural biodiversity of native plants that should be present, that plays really a foundational role in the proper functioning of the overall ecosystem, including all those aquatic parts in the watershed. The Sisters 80-acre campus also has a large dedicated rain garden at the front of the main parking lot. So when expansion of the parking lot was needed, the sisters recognized that this meant an increase in impervious surface, just like what Monte talked about. This would block rainwater from being able to infiltrate into the soil, meaning increases in erosion, increasing surface runoff water that's going directly into the Ohio River. I mean, we are like on the banks of the Ohio. So this rain garden was designed and installed in order to collect the water flowing off of the parking lot and allowing it the time to infiltrate into and percolate all throughout a very deep layer of engineered soil filled with native plants. And so this not only reduces the volume of surface runoff water, but those plants in that soil are actually cleaning the water of contaminants, especially what may be coming off of the roofs or the cars in the parking lot itself. And so that means we're sending cleaner water out to the Ohio River, which is, of course, going to the Mississippi, to the Gulf of Mexico, to the waters of the world. So it's connecting us to our dear neighbors globally, which I think is one of those really special things about water and watersheds, is that you can think of that clean water you're putting out benefiting people everywhere. It connects all of us on the earth. Another focus of our ecology ministry is addressing food systems and local food insecurity and food apartheid. So we use organic farming practices in our orchard, production gardens, and our community gardens to protect both soil and water health while delivering hundreds of pounds of fresh food to our dear neighbors in need in collaboration with local food pantries and community kitchens. We've also been replacing a lot of our synthetic materials, things like traditionally plastic you may use to cover raised beds through the winter. We've phased that out and have introduced sort of a lasagna stacking technique with all biodegradable natural materials present from our campus, like pine needles and dry leaves that we collect in the fall to replace those materials. So we're building soil while we're protecting soil in the watershed. So in addition to these and a lot of other stewardship projects that we have going on, we also offer a lot of different educational opportunities. These include things on both, the environment and ecology, but also on ecological spirituality, that connection I mentioned at the beginning of my time. This is all in alignment with Pope Francis's 2015 publication, Laudato Si, which calls us to experience the totality of environment and our human condition as inextricably linked, and why it is important, why caring for creation is caring for the dear neighbor and caring and loving God. We also offer funding opportunities for allied organizations, our neighbors, for community gardens or other allied organizations doing education work, whether that's on education about care for creation, watersheds, anything like that. And that's through our Sister St. Mark Garden Fund. And applications are open now for 2025. So if you have community gardens, people doing great work in the community, take a look at our website and check out the Sister St. Mark Garden Fund. So with that really quick peek at just some of the things that we have going on at the Sisters of St. Joseph, I just want to end with a thank you again to PA IPL for extending this invitation to the sisters for us to speak here tonight. We're so happy to be here with you all, to connect with you all. Please reach out to us at any time if there's any need or any way for us to collaborate with each other. Thank you again so much.
Thank you, Ryan, and thank you, Donna, and thank you, Monty. I hope you're also feeling excited and inspired. It's one of my favorite things to talk about watersheds. I love watersheds. I think that the watershed-based approach to thinking about ecosystems and how we care for them really resonates a lot with my own spiritual practices. And I know for many of you, that's maybe how you found yourself here. Maybe you started off as a water geek and are trying to find a way to apply it to your faith, or maybe you would just deeply committed and passionate to caring for this shared world that we have, and you're trying to figure out a way to actually make an impactful difference. I feel like It could be really hard to find hope right now. There's a lot of despair and a lot of doom, and we have real challenges ahead of us, right? But I think for me, grounding in these really localized actions together and building community around that, it just gives me so much hope. So thank you for coming and sharing stories. And I also realized as you all were talking, Ryan, I've been out to see the Sisters of St. Joseph's, and so I've seen where you are right by the river. And Donna, as you know, I've been out to Akron's project and helped plant some of those trees too. And Monte, most of the places you've been talking about, I've also been. But the one place I haven't been is out to the actual Stroud Center for Water Research. So I really think I need to bring a group out. So maybe we should set up a little tour to come out and see what you all are doing out there.
Exactly. We need to make that happen soon.
Yeah, I'd love to. I've heard so many wonderful things. So yeah, if you also are down for a field trip, let me know.
Got
Maybe
it.
we can get something started.
Good.
So we have a couple of moments now for question and answer. And so I have a couple of folks that have already asked some questions, and have those here in my documents. So I'm going to start with those. I'm going to open them up to all of our panelists, and you can just kind of jump in as you feel like you have something you'd like to share. We have two questions from Greg Williams. Hi, Greg. Thanks for being here. Where can I go to find out what mapping tools are available for looking at where local streams are impaired? I know someone in the chat, I think it was Elise, shared the DEP impaired streams mapping tool, but does anyone else have any other insights or tools that you want to, tips, tricks, you want to share for how to learn about impaired waters within your own community?
I really like the recommendation that Elise gave. That's where I go to. I can't tell you how much easier it is to find out information about streams. Our DEP has really enhanced with user-friendly options online to really find out more about streams throughout the Commonwealth. I'll just add one thing. We have a modeling program called Model My Watershed, and just type that in your browser and it'll come up, and it will enable you to find out a lot about your immediate local watershed, and also play around with different techniques to improve the conditions of your watershed with different kinds of interventions. So just invite you to try that tool. Very easy to use. It's taking a very sophisticated watershed model and putting it into a user interface that is very easy to use online. So check it out, Stroud's Model My Watershed.
I can also vouch for the tool. It's a good one. And if you're like me and you like hard copy stuff, if technology sometimes escapes you or you prefer things in hard copy, I can send this around as a resource too, but this is a lovely little primer book that I would recommend to folks that are looking to take a deeper dive in. This is called Watersheds, a practical handbook for healthy water. It covers a lot of the basic education elements and lets you know where to look for more resources. They usually have copies of this in the library, so you don't even need to buy a copy if you don't want to. You can go and check it out at your local library, and that's a great place to start if technology isn't always your friend. Greg was also wondering if anyone has thoughts or recommendations about a ratio of shrubs to trees when planting native or like reforesting or different types of projects that you're taking. Do you have any insights you want to share about that? Ryan, I'll let you speak first, and then Monty, you can follow up.
Yeah, I don't have a specific ratio of anything I follow. I tend to, in these projects, look to what the system wants. I mean, so you visit places that are less impacted, less touched, and see what's going on there. Generally, you know, in the Western PA, we should really be mainly sort of mixed oak forest, even though most of it has been knocked down. But there should be, you know, kind of a ratio of less trees to more shrubs to most herbaceous things. There's not really a number. That's what I tend to strive for, pairing, you know, a tree with a few nearby shrubs planted at, if you get information on the tree, something like it's 20 to 30 year canopy width where its drip line is going to be and its roots are going to go. I plant the shrubs outside of that because now I know there's not going to be too much sort of water competition between those plants that I want to have live for a long time. And then seeding or planting herbaceous perennials or native annuals can be done a lot more closely packed with those things, and they help hold the land together, and they die back and keep feeding the soil while those bigger woody things are growing up and taking their time to grow in, sort of close the canopy up.
Great. And Ryan, I really like the list of plants you provided earlier. It's a lot of the same species that we use in our plantings. In the 3-county area of southeastern PA, where we have most of our projects, we're planting about 120 acres of streamside forest per year. So we're moving pretty fast. We're using contractors. And our general mix is about 75% large trees. I mean, they're all seedlings when we put them in, but it's about 75% trees and then 25% shrubs and small trees like serviceberry and redbud and dogwood. More shrubs the better, but we're working on budgets while at the same time we're trying to get canopy closure over the stream as quickly as possible. And so we're using a lot of fast growing trees like sycamore, river birch, tulip poplar, black gum, black willow, swamp white oak, that kind of thing, and then a whole range of shrubs. So I would say we have about a dozen tree species that we're using a lot of, that are rugged, that are built for the vagaries of that challenging floodplain area, and about a dozen shrubs, but at that 75 to 25% ratio.
So Ryan and Monte are giving me a great commercial break to say, if you want to plant native trees with us this spring, the form is open now. It is open for priority requests through tomorrow, and for all requests need to be in by the 18th. So we're at the final intake end. So go ahead and put your requests in. We are somewhere in the range of, I think, over 40,000 requests deep for spring so far from my back-end report. So we have a lot of people that are really excited and activated. So I hope you'll join the community that's really excited about putting trees out in the ground. Donna, I'm going to bundle together a question from Lori and also Sally for you. Lori was wondering about how to connect and find a local congregation that cares about creation care. And then Sally was wondering if there are particular ways you found most effective for communicating with a congregation and building enthusiasm. I feel Akron is a great example of kind of building that power and strength within the congregation. So what would you say?
To the first question about how to find a congregation, this is a great place to do that because you are so connected with congregations. And also, if you find one congregation, then I think it's a good way to get connected because we are networking with each other. And so here's a good start for you to reach out to me or any one of us and begin getting connected. And your second question, Katie?
Was kind of internally facing. So what have you found is effective for communicating within your congregation and community to build interest in creation care?
Well, you helped us, Katie, to have a really good start, and came and spoke, and we as a congregation, it was right during and after the pandemic. And so we were like longing for ways to reconnect with each other again. And when we began working on this effort, you came and we heard you speak, and we all signed a pledge if we wanted to be involved. And we just really had lots of things for people to participate in and kept inviting volunteers, and people responded. And as people responded and we were working together, and I think everyone really had the desire to be able to do something, to make a difference. And this was something very tangible that we could do to make a difference. And energy just gradually began growing, and as people got involved, began to experience the energy and the joy of what we were doing. So it was just kind of a contagious thing that happened and continues to happen, uh, with more and more people getting involved.
Yeah, I think contagious is the right word. Having been there when it was just an empty field to walking around it today, it really is such a neat story to tell. And so for folks who are located in that like southeast part of the Chesapeake Bay Susquehanna watershed, Interfaith Partners for the Chesapeake does a lot of work specifically with congregations too. And so they are also a wonderful resource for folks to tap into as well. And Donna mentioned the pledge, and that pledge can be found on IPC's website too. If you're interested in having more opportunities to connect and plan your own congregational project, this is a reminder. Hopefully everyone knows by now, our coaching cohort, 6-month coaching cohort for Watershed Community Projects is open for applications through the 20th of January and will be launching next Thursday night. I'm really excited to be in small community group with you. We'll be working with somewhere in the range of 10 to 15 community groups and congregations. The folks who've already applied, I'm really super excited. It's going to be a really cool little community. So if you're looking for your way to figure out your next right step, whether that's in a community group that you're a part of, or whether it's with your local congregation, and you might just be getting started, or you might be like, I think we've maxed out and we're not sure what to do next. Everyone is kind of welcome into this community of practice that we're forming. So I will drop the link into the chat, but we would love to see folks there. That is a way that you can figure out how to communicate and how to share and build momentum inside of the communities where you already are for this work. For those of you who are willing to stick around, we are going to move shortly into breakout rooms. I want to take a moment again to thank each of our 3 presenters tonight and remind you that we will be hearing from Abdel at some point in the future, either by blog or video. We'll figure out how to do that so that we can hear about the work of the Islamic Center for Education as well, and the incredible watershed work that they're doing as well. I want to just borrow an extra moment of your time now. Surya, are you here and around?
Oh, trying to turn on my camera.
Ah, there you are. I'm so glad to see you.
Yes, thank you so much for having me tonight.
Yeah, so for folks who are out in Southwest PA, we are collaborating with Tree Pittsburgh on an interfaith summit next month. And so Surya is just going to take a brief moment and I'll get the breakout room set up while they're sharing with you about an opportunity to attend a tree education and community event.
Awesome. Thanks, Kay. Yeah, thank you, PA IPL, for having me tonight. And thank you to all of you who are doing such awesome work on Watersheds. It was really energizing to hear about your projects. I just want to give a brief heads up about an upcoming event that we're partnering with PA IPL about or on. So I work for Tree Pittsburgh, which is a community and urban forestry nonprofit based in the Pittsburgh area. And we do work all over Allegheny County. And we're hoping to expand our work with congregations in a number of different ways, and are hosting a multi-faith community forestry summit at the end of February, so February 24th. And we welcome anyone who's able to join for this program. We're going to have a keynote speaker, panelists from faith congregations who have already worked in community forestry or on urban greening projects, as well as different breakout sessions to talk more about the different offerings that we have. Tree Pittsburgh is part of an organizational umbrella called the Pittsburgh Canopy Alliance, and we work really closely together with a number of organizations to further community forestry goals and different watershed projects as well. So I can drop a link in the chat to the registration, and I'll be in the breakout room in case anybody has any questions. And I'll also just share the link for the Pittsburgh Canopy Alliance and for my organization as well, Tree Pittsburgh. And we're working on getting a site set up to give a little bit more information. But here is my email as well. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. I'm really looking forward to this event and would love to have any of you there to join us. So thank you.